Always a pleasure to have the mayor of the city of Toledo, Ohio, make time for us. Wednesday with Wade here on the Scott Sand Show. Mayor, how are you? I know you're driving around. Busy afternoon today, I assume?
Yeah, but a good afternoon. It's a beautiful blue sky and, I don't know, 80 degrees, which you don't usually get in mid-September in Toledo, so I'll take it.
You know, here in our brand new Hinsville studios, we're right here in the ballpark at Fifth Third Field today, the last daytime Hens game of the season. And Katie in our office at lunchtime suggested, hey, why don't we walk around the ballpark and get something to eat? That sounded like a damn good idea, and here I am 3 beers later. So it's one of those afternoons.
I think you can make an exception from time to time. I'm not going to judge.
No, I don't think you should. So obviously, one of the big stories nationally the last couple of weeks has been out of Springfield, Ohio, where they may or may not be eating the dogs and cats, the geese, the pets. They're abducting, they're stealing, and eating the pets. You were actually down in Springfield earlier this week, a couple of days ago.
Yeah, I was, and this is just an unfortunate one all the way around. There are a bunch of brand new citizens in Springfield. There's no question about it. It's a town of about 60,000 people. And over the last 10 years, starting in about 2014, so yeah, that's 10 years exactly, they've gotten about somewhere between 12 to 15,000 legal Haitian immigrants into their community. So I do know that there are more Haitians living in Springfield than there ever used to be. And I know that human nature is such that's, you grow a size of any organization by 25% in a short amount of time. There's going to be, some growing pains. So I know that is happening, but there are no dogs and cats being eaten. And I guess I just wish that we, on both sides of the political spectrum, could live in a world where we can make our arguments without having to descend into, the silly season. Because the memes are funny, the memes of the cats and the dogs watching the debate and getting scared and hiding under a pillow. And that, I get it. It's funny. But it's, that kind of stuff is dangerous. I mean, it really is. And so the reason I was down there were, about a dozen or so mayors from around the state went down to meet with Mayor Rue, who, by the way, is a Republican, and his city manager is a Republican, and DeWine was there, and he's a Republican, and Bob Taft was there, and he's a Republican. They were just talking about, logistically, if they need any help and if we can help. I mean, my goodness, they've gotten 33 bomb threats in the last week. And, we could look, I don't think anyone thinks our immigration system is working in the United States. Let's talk about that. You can have that conversation without going into silly town, talking about dogs and cats. It's just not happening. And it's causing some real damage to the kids and just everyone down there. So
I've personally taken a lot of criticism for pointing out that the pets in Springfield are safe. And that doesn't mean that maybe there hasn't been an isolated incident of a cat or dog going missing, maybe even being eaten, or maybe a goose or some squirrels being eaten and harvested out of the park. I'm not going to say that has absolutely 100% not happening. But it's not happening every day with hundreds of dogs and cats and geese going missing from the park and area neighborhoods. And these accusations against the Haitian community, I think I'm going to stop short of calling them racist, but they certainly have racist overtones, and in many cases have been started by neo-Nazi hate groups, and that's a problem. That said, I think the memes and some of the idiotic comments during the debate have drawn attention to a much larger problem in this country, and that's the problem of illegal immigration and a failed immigration policy, because even though the Haitians are in the country legally under temporary protected status, you can't have that many immigrants move to a small town like Springfield and stress the city's resources and expect there not to be any problems.
No, I look, that's totally fair. That, what you just said, that is a perfect example of a intelligent, thoughtful debate that we should be having. But pretending that in addition to whatever else is happening in Springfield, that they are, running around eating cats and dogs is just, not only is not true, it's just not helpful. And actually, Mike DeWine's a great example here. Mike DeWine is a Republican who has endorsed Donald Trump. He wants Trump to win. And what he said the other day was that, look, this is not, as someone who wants Trump to win, I don't think talking about something that's not happening is helping the cause. We should be talking about the immigration policy that's not working, but all those things are, you can do all those things, say everything you want, just stop short of, making up, this falsehood, which actually ends up blowing up in your face and creating a, sort of a slingshot reaction the other direction.
And many of the stories have since been recanted by the people that were initially making the claims, not knowing that they would become as explosive as they have. So I do want to take this conversation and kind of pivot towards Toledo. We're talking to Toledo Mayor Wade Kapszukiewicz here on the Scott Sand Show. We've heard that there's a growing Haitian population in Findlay. I've exchanged messages with Mayor Murin there and tried to get her on. I'm hearing that there's a growing Haitian population in Lima. Toledo, Lucas County, not exactly, as I understand it, sanctuary cities, but welcoming communities, a welcoming city, a welcoming county. We got this question for you, Mayor, from our talkback microphone.
Ask the mayor how many migrants have been allowed to settle in the city of Toledo during his second term.
I don't know if that's a number you know offhand, Mayor.
No, I don't know that number, but whatever the number is, personally, I wish it were higher. We will take, just my judgment, Toledo needs more people. We've been losing population for 65 years. We want more people working and buying our goods and services and paying property tax. That's what we want. So whatever is happening in Lima and Findlay and Springfield, it is not happening in Toledo, not in any way that moves the needle. If you want to talk about the real legitimate problems that could be happening in some place like Springfield, the mayor talked about that the other day. Here's what is happening. Because their city has grown by 25% over the last 10 years with an influx of 12 to 15,000 Haitians, it is driving up rent. So rent is not as cheap as it used to be. The cost of living is going up. That's a real problem. And the people who had been living there, who feel displaced and forgotten and maybe priced out of their neighborhood, are rightly upset about it. That is legitimate and real, and we should talk about that. Again, it's a little different. You can have that conversation without going into silly town with dogs and cats. Now, I'm going to pivot to Toledo because that's what you want me to say. I know everyone's going to get emotional as soon as you're talking about immigrants, this, that, and the other thing. I think we can all agree that whatever challenges might be caused by being a welcoming community, skyrocketing rents because so many people are moving to Toledo is not among them. In other words, we should be so lucky as to have that problem. It hasn't happened yet in Toledo, whatever the numbers are.
Well, I'm not sure I want to consider skyrocketing rent to be a plus from welcoming immigrants to the city.
Right.
In a city that's already strained.
Exactly right. That's my point.
You and I have had conversations. Our first responders, our police, our fire departments are strained, and we have budget issues. Hell, we had an 8-foot wide by 8-foot deep sinkhole right in front of our building, right in front of Hinsville, for a few days last week. We have problems keeping up with our roads. So I'm not sure welcoming 10,000 more people to the city immediately is a great solution to any problems we're having here.
Well, you'll be glad to know it's not happening.
And we certainly don't have the jobs to support them either. I would love to have 10,000 open jobs in this city, but at the same time, Stellantis is cutting back on production at one of our major employers in the city.
Yeah, that is more of a view from 30,000 feet global problem. I think the CEO of Stellantis has admitted that they priced their good too high. It's too expensive. They priced it too high. And I think when that gets adjusted, first of all, I think that's only the slowdown is going to last for less than a week. I think next week we'll be back to the levels we were at. But in terms of why it happened, it's simple, free market. When people don't want to pay what you're asking for, you got issues. And I can't remember if it was New York Times or where I read it. The CEO of Stellantis essentially came out and said that he, in retrospect, the price tag was a little too high. But the criticism can't go both ways. You can't be critical of the leadership of Toledo because we're losing so much population, and simultaneously be critical that we're welcoming too many new. It's one or the other. Pick a reason that I'm the scum of the earth and stick with it. Can't be both at the same time.
I have a feeling my listeners will chime in with several reasons why.
Yeah.
Although
That's right. Even contradictory ones.
Right. So we'll see how that goes. One of the complaints I've always had about Toledo, you seem to be addressing, although I haven't gotten any direct feedback from business leaders, business entrepreneurs here in the city yet, the process to start a business in Toledo has been cumbersome at best and a pain in the ass at worst, is generally the way it's been described. I'll give you the last minute here to chime in on this new permit application process for business leaders in the city.
Well, anecdotally, there is a lot of commentary about whether Toledo is business friendly and how can we be friendlier.
It's not business friendly. Let me just lay that out there. It has not been.
So the new permit planner that we have is an attempt to address that problem so that all of the forms that need to be filed and the permits that need and the approvals that are required can be explained in a way that anyone can understand, even dummies like me and you. I think in the past, one of the reasons that it was so cumbersome is that there was a Byzantine series of regulations that were hard to understand and were never properly explained. And if you missed step 6 in a 30-step process, you were sent right back to the beginning of the line, adding to time, cost, and frustration. The permit planner is a long overdue attempt to fix that problem. So let's give it a chance to work. By the way, I'm glad that you want Toledo to be more like our suburban friends. That is the first indication that you agree that mayors should not have term limits, since they don't have them in Perrysburg or Sylvania or any of these other successful cities. But I'll leave that for another day. I don't want to out you as a supporter of that issue, even though you just made the argument for it.
I most certainly am not. I don't remember mentioning anything at all about term limits in that question. But
you're just talking about successful cities and how Toledo needs to be more like the successful cities in Ohio. And every successful city in Ohio has that one thing in common. But I digress. I'm just trying to agitate your listeners.
Or a successful mayor, which is not a direct attack at you either, Wade.
No, Toledo has always been very good at getting rid of mayors that don't work. It has had no mechanism of keeping the good.
I don't know. A couple of them seem to keep rebounding, I've noticed in the 10 years that I've been here.
But when they rebound, sometimes they lose in the largest landslide in the last 50 years. At least one recently did.
All right. So, look, let's set aside a segment where we can actually talk about the term limits. Can we do that one day, maybe on a Wednesday, or just a separate segment so we can talk specifically about term limits in Toledo?
Sure. I nominate Wednesday, November 6th as a wonderful time to talk about that.
Before then, so voters can have a chance to think about it.
All right. Fair enough.
All right. Drive safe. We'll talk to you soon.
All right.